to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, April 29th here. Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Morganoni, and I'm joined by Matthew Betz and Jason Moore.
What's up, fellas? How was everyone's NFL draft experience?
Well, I'm a Cardinals fan, so it wasn't great, but I'm more than a Cardinals fan. I am a fantasy football fanatic and analyst, and so it also wasn't great. My draft week was as sucky as the draft. How was your guys's?
Well, I, was a huge Makai Lemon fan before the NFL draft, and I've now kind of settled into this acceptance phase of the A.J. Brown saga, where, of course, I loved him for years, and, it's my team and all that stuff. And
I saw you take him over Tate. I did. It's funny. So we're in our Dino Junior. You were whatever that is, pick 3 or something.
Pick 3.
And I went and I looked this morning. I was like, oh, you took Makai over Tate? Wow. And then I go, oh yeah, he's an Eagles fan. Of course he took.
That was the tiebreaker.
And I don't blame you for that.
On your team.
I don't.
Too, by the way.
I don't blame someone. Look, don't draft your hometown hero or your favorite guy over someone much better. But I mean, there is debate between those three. So if you want to tie break with, look, I want to root for this guy. That's good. That's fine and dandy. Although, it can backfire, Marv.
It sure could. The draft is going on right now. I've been wheeling and dealing during this draft. Me and Falcon made another trade.
Dude, I haven't paid any attention because I don't have any picks. I'm like, I think I've got the 307, which in this draft is the equivalent of like the 12-12. I don't care.
That's fair.
We will get to talk about some of those picks that we have done in our Dynasty draft that on this episode we'll walk through a couple rounds. And there might be people out there like, why don't you guys go 3 rounds? Why don't you go 4 rounds? Why don't you go 5? Because in my league, this is what we do. Jason brought this up before the show. There really is not a huge divide. You saw that in the real-life NFL draft. And then now you're seeing it in rookie drafts where once you get to about the, even the 112. I was debating the 112 with somebody. Yeah. And I was like, am I taking a 3rd-round wide receiver at 112? Where last year, that was the Matthew Golden, Luther Burden spot. So
yeah, it is definitely a very big downgrade. I mean, genuinely, you've got like 11 players. You could argue 10 players that are that are worth like drafting. They have the capital, have the talent, have the opportunity, and then it gets dicey. So yeah, when you're if you're in the middle of the 2nd round, usually I value 2nd rounders and 3rd rounders drastically different. I look at a 2nd rounder as you've got like a 40% hit rate. Like you've got almost a 50-50 chance of getting a player that matters for fantasy in the 2nd round. And the 3rd round I view as absolute utter garbage, worthless. You got a 10% chance. I mean, it feels so great when you land that 3rd rounder, when you draft Puka instead of letting him go undrafted and he becomes maybe the number 1 starter. It's awesome, and it happens. 3rd rounders matter. But statistically, historically, I'm sure everyone that listens here has a much higher hit rate than 10% because you're smart. But the 3rd round hits at about 10% rate. It's garbage. This year, that might be just the 2nd and 3rd round. Like they're all garbage. So I don't know. Maybe that's an argument to go deeper this year.
I also think on the same line of thinking, like if you're someone that's holding right now, if you haven't had your rookie draft yet, and you're holding like the 204, something like that, and you can move back 4 or 5 spots and pick up an extra couple of, shots on goal here and just like pick up an extra 3rd or something. Like I think this is the class to do that. Because once you get to like 201 to 305, I mean, sure, you might have your guy that you like or, whatever, but from a tier-based standpoint, like these guys are all pretty much the same. So I think moving back in the 2nd round and trying to pick up an extra dart throw makes sense to me.
There is, I have always been a proponent of trading future picks for this year's picks. You get a free year. It is mathematically wise. I have never been a fan of the trading this year's pick for future picks until this year. once you're out of that first round, if you've got a mid-second and someone loves the player there, and they want to trade up because they're a huge Chris Bell fan, and they think he's going to get over it. They really believe, and you can flip him to a 2027. I think I would do it because the draft next year projects to be much deeper. I mean, I don't. This is just the 30,000-foot view. I don't know it, in depth, but for a couple of years, people have said the 2027 draft is going to be big, and usually when you hear those things years out, they tend to be true. We heard that this was going to be a weak draft. We heard this was a bad draft for running backs. Both of those were true. So, yeah, you can wheel and deal, and you can look at 27.
It'll be interesting to see. This is a sick game, but like of the 36 picks, let's say you're doing 3 rounds in your rookie draft, how many of those are still going to be on an NFL roster in like 2 years? Because like there will be guys on this list that were like drafting, round 5 running backs in the second round of a rookie draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years from now, we're like, that guy's like irrelevant on this team. That guy like does not matter. They drafted his replacement a year later. So we're going to walk through some of those, give you some range of outcomes for these players where you could take them. If you want to swing away, this is the year to swing away. Like don't say like I'm at the 201 and I have to go with this ranking because this is what the consensus says about this player. If anything, the NFL taught us this year, they don't give 2 farts about consensus.
Yeah, if you have conviction on a player, once you get to that second round, just take whoever you like the best. I do think that that's the case. Now, if you don't know these players intimately, you're a casual Dynasty fan, and that's why you listen. You love playing, but you don't have the time in your life to scout these guys. We do go deep. We do put a lot of effort into our rankings. My ranking is sorted very purposefully. One player versus the other. I will take this guy over that guy every single time. And so, our rankings now post-draft are live on the fantasyfootballers.com. If you have the UDK Plus or if you're an Ultimate Foot Clan member, those come with all the Dynasty information. So if you've already got it, check it out. Use our rankings. They are good. And if you don't have it, get it. You should get it. You should just get it. Footclan.com.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
There's a new mock draft there. There's risers and fallers. And then another part that I think post-draft we forget about is that we update the opportunity for every single team, all 32 teams. And from that, you can kind of see how there's certain players that maybe don't have the sexiest name or appeal in Dynasty, yet they've come through as winners. And so that's our quick question before we get into our mock draft, is to quickly give us a veteran winner from the draft, and then maybe what that could mean for 2026 and beyond. For a lot of players that are veterans, it's like, okay, here's this 1-year window where you are assured of this opportunity, and sometimes that's more than enough. So, Jason, the name that you wrote down
Mine
on here,
is not that.
Betz traded for him.
Oh,
actually,
I didn't see that. Dadgummit. Today?
In Dino Jr.
Dude,
I traded the
you
112
son of a gun.
for this player, which I'll let you talk about.
Oh my gosh, what a great trade. I was going to bring you. I did not know this. I really did not know this. I was going to bring up today, and I was going to use the 201, so one pick different, as my example. That if I was in this year's draft and I had an early second and I could flip it for this guy, I would do it. You did that? Genuinely, not even a joke. I was planning in both of our main leagues to go try to do this after this show, and you already did it? You monster.
I did it, man. And the
okay.
best part is I posted it on Twitter. I'll let you share about the player in a second, which we haven't even mentioned yet.
Never mentioned his name.
Half of the replies, which I think this is so fascinating, were like, "You idiot, I would never trade a first for this guy.
Yes.
You got fleeced." And the other half were like, "Dude, an amazing trade for you. You won this trade."
Yeah.
And I love that about Dynasty trading, is that there is no right or wrong. It is
there
your
will
perception of the pick
there
and
will
value
be a right
and how
a
you
wrong.
feel.
So you get
right, but we're so fast to be like, you won the trade. It's
but
like,
here's
we don't know, right?
here's the thing.
But go ahead.
Again, we haven't said the player, but here is the truth.
When we never will.
When you are talking about a trade for candidate or someone that is a buy low candidate, if you put a tweet out and everyone thinks you won, that you didn't. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't actually buy low. The whole point is that not everyone sees this, which is why you target these players. I think the biggest winner, veteran-wise, is Josh Downs, especially for Dynasty. Josh Downs, first and foremost, is a really good football player. He just is. Last year, I'm going to peel back the curtain. I don't think we've ever said this on the show. I don't even know if you two guys know this or not. And you could say, oh, yeah, we talked about that on the show. I don't know. For a long period of time last year, Mike, the fantasy hitman, right, had Josh Downs as his my guy. He was going to be one of his 3 my guys. I helped talk him out of it because I really believed that Michael Pittman was like the mouths to feed with Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman being there,
Warren,
Adonai Mitchell. Like it got scary to me. Now, it was a late round draft pick, but the reason Mike loved Downs, and Andy was right there with him, was because he's really good at playing wide receiver in the National Football League. I know he is undersized, 5'9", 171, so it's not ideal, but he's good. And how good is he? He is good enough that the Colts chose to send away Adonai Mitchell, then send away Michael Pittman Jr., their star wide receiver who they pay like a star wide receiver, and then not draft any important wide receivers, not go after wide receivers in free agency, say they're good. To come out, Ballard came out and said they're good because of Josh Downs. He's literally saying, Josh, you guys forget how good Josh Downs is. Our wide receiver core is fine because we have Josh Downs. Josh Downs is now not a slot wide receiver only. Look at the depth chart. He is on the field every play, and he wasn't. This is a player that's going from, like, if you could tell me Jayden Reed got to play in 2 wide receiver sets, I would say he's going to be great for fantasy football. He's not going to get to play in 2 wide receiver sets. It's going to be Matthew Golden and Christian Watson on the outside. But for this team, Josh Downs is going to be playing a lot of snaps. He's going to go from whatever he's, been in the 50s to 70s to he's going to be out there 80 and 90% of the snaps. He's going to be the number 1 target. You have so many targets gone. He has at least the chance to be the number 1 target. It's him and Tyler Warren to me. Alec Pierce, great wide receiver, but he's not a target hog. Like, the possession receiver is Josh Downs. He's very good. For dynasty purposes, he's 24 years old. This is a young player who feels like a leftover veteran schmuck, and I expect him to be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. So this isn't necessarily like, oh, he's going to go out there and be Jamar Chase. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm saying that in the second round of your fantasy drafts this year in rookie drafts, you're drafting guys that you hope could maybe develop into a wide receiver 2 that might work in the NFL. And then if they work in the NFL, that they could work well enough to be relevant for fantasy. I am 100% confident that Josh Downs will be important for fantasy this year. He is the primary possession wide receiver for the Colts. If Daniel Jones is back, this was a great offense last year. It's just a lot of things to like, and the value is so low. I look at him in underdog. I look at him in redraft ADP, and he is dead. He is like a 10th round pick. Just worthless. And that's not, like, I haven't got to the Colts yet. I'm doing the UDK. I'm statting out every team. I am excited to see when I get there. Like, he has to have a good target market share. Just the depth chart says so. His talent says so. The transactions of the Colts say Josh Downs is important to the Colts.
He's 24 years old, and just to give you a stat, like, through almost 50 career games, he's averaging 7 targets per game. And it's really rare to find that from a wide receiver that's taken in round 3 and that continues to do it. Like, we've seen, like, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin. Those are the best of the best, and he's there with that group. So we don't know what he is the final year of his contract, but it wouldn't shock us if he leads his team in targets, him or Tyler Warren this year, and then gets an extension at some point. So Betz, like, I mean, the 112, which is sad because I have the 201 in that league. Jason was trying to throw that out there. I could have offered the 201.
Yeah. You should have, dude.
But, like, you're looking
offer it now. Betz has it.
Hey, maybe, And I think it's really important to put names at that pick. We always talk about that, which we'll do our mock here, but just for everybody that peek behind the curtain, in the updated new mock in the Dynasty Pass, like, at the 112, it was Chris Bell, and at the 201, it was Germie. It was Jeremy Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't even know if those guys are good, A, and B, like, in most years, those guys are like the 209 type of pick that we make in rookie drafts. Like, the 112 this year is not a real first-round pick, if we're being honest. So that's why I made the deal.
When I look at Jeremy Bernard,
basically everything Jason said.
Jeremy Bernard, even Denzel Boston, Antonio Williams, Dejon Stribling, Chris Bell, Ted Hurst, like, those are my next 6 players. One of those guys could absolutely turn out to be better than Josh Downs. Like, hopefully, the teams are drafting him to be. They don't project to be fantasy stars. You hope that they can be as good as Josh Downs has already been. And Josh Downs isn't old. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
For
All
sure.
right, let's go with the real guy. If we're to talk better and
that
winners.
we all
Real
three
old.
love.
I can't
the three
quit
of
this
us
guy, man. I can't
I
love
quit
don't
him.
even know who yours is.
Oh, it's Mark Andrews.
Oh, man.
And look, this is obviously very specific to this season because I think there are signs of decline, obviously, from the guy we used to draft, 3 years ago in like the 4th round of redraft leagues. Like, this is not the same player. But when you look at what happened with Baltimore this offseason, obviously Isaiah Likely is gone. And I think kind of sneakily important, Charlie Kolar is gone. And Baltimore was a team that was rumored to be in on Sadiq. They passed on him at 14th overall. They only draft one tight end. It's in the 4th round, Matthew Hibner out of SMU. Look, I know Mark Andrews is not a sexy name, but if you're looking for a contending team to get a player that probably is going to be second on the team in targets behind Zay Flowers with an innovative new play caller, this is not the hardball Ravens. Like, I think Mark Andrews could surprise some people this year and have one of those, 700 to 800 yards, not wow you there, but come away with 12 touchdowns and be the tight end 5 on the year, something like that. No, you're not winning your league because of Mark Andrews. I just think based off of what could have happened in the draft coming out of this, especially after signing a 3-year extension previously, he's a big winner from the NFL draft.
Do you think you could trade that same exact pick, the 112, for Mark Andrews?
Oh, my gosh.
I think you could.
I have Mark Andrews if anyone wants to come get him for the 112. I mean,
would you do it for the 112, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For this year?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't disagree with what Betz is saying. I think Mark Andrews is a huge winner. I think in redraft leagues, he's going to be higher than expected. So far, while I've statted him out, I have done the Baltimore Ravens, and I've got him with, 8.5 touchdowns this year. It looks likely that he'll be around that number. He could easily get to 10 touchdowns.
What's his target share?
His target share right now, I've got him at 18.5%.
Okay.
He'll be a very relevant asset in fantasy, but in dynasty leagues, people are tight end hungry and needy. But you don't have much time left. There are signs of decline. So I think, look, if you're at the 112, you probably or possibly have that because you won the championship, right? You're drafting 12 because you won. Now, let it be very clear that is not why Betz has the 112.
Yeah.
However, for a lot of people, that's, they've got a championship window type of team. They're going to be picking low, and maybe in that window, they need a little extra help at tight end. I don't think it's a universal I wouldn't do it or I would do it. For my team, if I could trade Andrews for a high draft pick, I still would. I would capitalize on it, but that doesn't mean I disagree. Obviously, after the draft, he's a huge winner. They need to use him now. He's going to be on the field more now with Likely gone, consolidation of the tight end targets, which has always worked well between Lamar and Andrews. And I will say this, while we look at Andrews like he's dead to rights, his career is over. You look at what, he's not that old for a tight end. For a tight end at 30 years old, he's not 32, he's 30. You look at what George Kittle's been able to do. You look at what Travis Kelce's been able to do. You look at what Zach Ertz, not the super athletic. Like, when you're a really good player and they signed a contract extension, he's good. He's 30 years old. He's not his prime, but he's not toast anymore. So, yeah, I think there is a place where he needs to be on a competing team that needs a tight end, and you move him around in dynasty leagues. He is definitely a winner. But also, if I could capitalize him on my team, I would. But I have Kyle Pitts, so, I'm locked at the position. Don't worry about me, fellas.
Because your team, I believe in that league, Dino Jr., is pretty irrelevant over the last couple of years. I don't remember anything about your team.
First of all, super not irrelevant. I win lots of championships, but also that's not the league I have Mark Andrews. That's Dino. That's the main Dino league. I've got Andrews. I've got Kelsey in Dino Jr.
I'm going to throw out a veteran winner that is not a sexy name, but the Vikings, they had 5 pre-draft visits with the running back position. Historically speaking, that usually means you're going to take a running back early. It's 80% in the top 4 rounds. That's what it's been. They don't take a running back until round 6. They took a fullback in round 5, but round 6 was Damon Claiborne. So Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason in Dynasty probably didn't feel like assets that felt very valuable to your team. But with Kyler hopefully being the quarterback, Their O-line dealt with a ton of injuries last year, and yet they were still 11th in adjusted yards before contact. I feel like both of those players could have value, which is crazy for Aaron Jones at this stage of his career, that he kind of keeps enduring and keeps giving you life. So those are just two guys that I think I just assumed they were going to take somebody and you could just move on and it's going to be irrelevant, but you probably have one more year. And I have a dynasty team. I'm like, I would kill to have Aaron Jones as my RB2 on a team like that.
Yeah, that's a good call out. This is the type of player, again, if you're on a championship contending team and you've got a low second, which is basically crap, now you might be able to get him for that, because the guy who has him, if he's not a contender, just wants anything for him, expiring asset. But he'll make an impact in redraft. And Kathy Bates, also the rookie there. I don't know if you I heard this morning from Julia Papworth. She was she calls Claiborne Kathy Bates, and I was like, what? Why are you calling him Kathy Bates? And then she sends me the movie poster from Dolores Claiborne, the movie starring Kathy Bates, and that's all she can see. So yes, now that's the rookie's nickname.
100%. There's no way that when we bring this up, you cannot restrain yourself from bringing that up on the main show.
No,
because I think my comp was LaCroix, James Cook. That was my comp for him. But
LaCroix,
Kathy
James
Bates
Cook.
For someone who is very, very different than Kathy Bates is pretty great. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to go 2 rounds for this rookie mock. Let's go.
The Fantasy Footballers Mock Draft.
The order for this one quarterback draft is going to be Jason, myself, and then Betz, and then we'll just keep repeating. The Superflex gals and bros out there, I don't think that much will change. I really don't. We brought this up on a couple different podcasts. If you want to take Mendoza as high as 102, that's fine. I think we're more in the 105 range.
Yes.
106. So you can adjust that in the Ultimate Draft Kit if you want to.
The real question when you're looking at a Superflex league, yeah, okay, some of the mobile quarterbacks that are backups, maybe they sneak in your 3rd or 4th round, but for the most part, it's pretty much just where would you take Ty and where would you, like Carson Beck, okay, maybe you throw him in the 3rd, but
Drew Aller?
Yeah,
Betz?
Totally.
So it's not a deep draft. So really, the Superflex and single quarterback bros were not that different. I really feel like the primary change is simply and only, where do you take Ty, and that's going to vary drastically. Some people want to take him right around Mendoza. They think the future as a Ram with McVay, with weapons, a year to sit, the future will be very, very bright. But obviously you don't get him for a year. He's not a mobile quarterback as far as he is mobile capable. That doesn't mean that he is going to accumulate rushing yards for fantasy. He won't. Not in a significant fashion. So he's interesting. I would say in this draft, maybe you do pump him up more to the back of the 1st, early 2nd in a Superflex.
Yeah, I've done 2 drafts so far in different leagues that are already through the 1st round. In one Superflex league, he went the 8th pick. The other, he went in the 12th. So somewhere in the back half of the 1st, I think, is where he'll settle.
Yeah, and I don't think you can use situations like Penix or Jordan Love to say, well, here's what happened with these guys who were clearly sitting for a while. It's just every situation's different. This one's unique with McVay, somebody that we trust. And then, did you guys see the news coming out in the last day or so? They had secret meetings together.
Yes, I did see that, which actually...
We like that. We like the secret meetings.
We do like that. On the main show on Tuesday, I talked about how I think there's big disagreement between my viewpoint and Andy's viewpoint on whether it was a good pick.
Is this a right and wrong thing?
Yeah, a right and wrong, and I actually don't think it was a incorrect pick. But we'll talk about that on the main show on Thursday. Because
overall, the Rams have given us enough years to say they're a smart organization.
Yeah, that is a huge part of it. A huge part of it.
So Jason's at the 101.
Oh, I am? I'll take Jeremiah Love.
But I want to hear, you can give the fan reaction part, but in year 1, Yeah, I'm assuming you've done the Cardinals.
I
Have you done their
I
projections?
have done the Cardinals, yes.
That must be painful to do for the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, it is really. I bodied James Conner. I think that he is, he was a captain of the Cardinals. This is a very, very important locker room guy. It'll be told, they gave him money in the offseason, but really they restructured his deal to be able to keep him around. This is a new coaching staff that didn't work with him, that brought in Jeremiyah Love, that brought in Tyler Algier. So I think it's pretty much the beginning of the end for James Conner, a very valuable asset to the team that I don't expect to get a lot of work. I feel so bad for Tyler Algier, the man. I mean, you were drafted into the NFL. You think about this. You spent your entire life to become an NFL running back. You're drafted into the NFL. You get the opportunity. You rush for 1,000 yards as a rookie. You're like, I can do something. I am here. I belong. I am a quality NFL running back. And then the next year they draft a top 10 Bijan Robinson, generational guy, and you are a backup. What do you do as a backup? Oh, I don't know. Just score a ton of touchdowns, frustrate everybody because the team really wants to use you because you're really good. But it's okay. Your time has come. Free agent marketplace, you're going to get a big deal, and you're going to be the guy for the Cardinals. You're going to go prove you can be a lead back. What do? Take a top 5 running back and make you a backup. It's like, just go retire, Algier. Anyways, to give you a redraft outlook on Jeremiyah Love, I have not statted enough guys. I'm through, the first 5 alphabetically teams. When people are like, oh, yeah, you sure you stat Arizona first? I do, because they alphabetically come first. He is behind Chase Brown, if that gives you like an idea, because Chase Brown is one of those questionable. How is he going to do? I think everybody right now views, like in a redraft league, they go, I know what I think of Chase Brown and where he should go. He's good. Back end like, RB1 maybe.
Yeah, 13-ish.
Right, exactly. And so far, I have Chase Brown scoring more fantasy points than Jeremiyah Love in his rookie season.
How many total opportunities? So if we're just looking at targets and rush attempts, because that's something Betz and I were debating recently on DFS and betting podcast of like, man, in year 1, how much workload?
I've got him for a modestly nice 269 total opportunities.
Which is, just for context, that's really good. That's not great for the 3rd overall pick.
No, it's not great for where he's going to go in your redraft leagues. I do think it's fine for where he goes in Dynasty. This is just like Ashton Genty was a good pick and had a disappointing rookie season. He was still very good, finishes the RB12, but disappointing. Bright days ahead, so young. And I believe Jeremiyah Love is 20 right now. Like, I don't think he's turned 21. I'll let me double check that. But yeah, I mean, you've got time. You've got time with Love. So Love would be the number 1 pick in all formats, everyone's league, and you'll be happy with him. But just don't expect to have a superstar his rookie year.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to make this comp because Tyler Algier has been on both teams. But I really think a Bijan Robinson rookie season is kind of what we're in for here, where it's like you're left wanting more. Like, why didn't they give him more work? Why didn't they do this? And then all of a sudden in year 2 and beyond, he is unbelievable for fantasy. So I agree with you that like in redraft, it might be a little disappointing. I think in Dynasty, no matter what, he's the first pick.
Jeremiyah Love is 20 years old. He doesn't turn 20 years old till May 31st. So he's got another, 2 months or so, or I guess 1 full month now of being 20.
Right before that UDK release. He turns 21.
That's right.
He's
like,
just old enough.
He turns 21 legally. And celebrates. He's going to crack the champagne as the UDK releases. Congratulations, Jeremiyah Love. Or as I read it, Jeremiyah. I hate how he spells his name.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate these names that are just spelled different with the same name. Derek. I hate the name Derek. You can spell it like 4 ways.
There's some good
Germie.
D-train Derek's out there.
Germie's fine. If you spell it that ridiculous, I know how to spell your name. I hate when it's just slightly different. Like Derek's such an easy name. D-E-R-E-K, D-E-R-R-E-K, D-E-R-R-I-C-K. It's like, hate it.
Poor Germie.
I know.
I bet. You think he got made fun of growing up? Germie?
Only by the teachers who were reading the name.
Just
the
he was the coolest kid in school,
him.
but the teachers just bullied him over and over again. All right, I'm at 102, and I did have this decision in our Dino Junior League between these 3 wide receivers. And I kind of been in the same spot the entire part of the process, and I'm not really changing now. It's going to be Jordan Tyson, drafted by the Saints at 8th overall. This is a I was tempted by Carnell Tate, and yet my priors said who earns the targets and what translates from college to the pros, who had the youngest breakout age of anybody in this class, and really one of the youngest that we've seen in the last decade is Jordyn Tyson. So Olave is a bonus there. I think some people see that and go, oh man, they're going to compete for targets. What if just the offense is awesome? And what if Kellen Moore, who is selfishly one of my favorite play callers, just hyper targets this guy? So Tyson is my one of two.
I mean, the number 2 target is like, as far as quality, as far as talent, has been Juwan Johnson. Like, that is not what you want for your NFL team. No offense, Juwan or Vele or whoever, is there trying to be the wide receiver too. There is an enormous Grand Canyon size amount of targets available for Jordyn Tyson. He's my number 1 as well. He was my number 1 pre-draft. I think his landing spot with a good-looking young quarterback in place. And it's not like Olave, who I still think Olave is the one for the team, especially rookie year version of Jordyn Tyson. Look, I have Olave in Dynasty. It is a terrifying prospect. At any minute, his career can be over with the concussions. Any minute. And if that happens, all of a sudden, Jordyn Tyson is left alone. And so, yeah, Tyson would be my number 1. I will say this, since I assume Makai Lemon is about to go to Betz, I did flip. The entire process, I was Jordyn Tyson, Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate. But Carnell Tate going number 4 to Cam Ward and, being so invested, going to a team where I don't view any competition for being the number 1. I don't think Ridley or Wandale or, they're not Chris Olave level at this point of Calvin Ridley. So I think Tate is the one for the Titans year 1. And so that flipped him for me over Makai. But Betz, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think either guy is fine here. And I think they're kind of like, I still view them in the same tier personally. I know other people think that the draft capital difference between Tate and Makai Lemon matters so much. No. And I could see that, but
no. So I can tell you statistically, historically, data-wise, is zero difference in those 2 picks. In fact, sometimes the lower drafted first round, not the end of the first, but like the middle of the first, sometimes those end up better spots simply because you go to better teams, which makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I'm sticking to my pre-NFL draft evaluation process here, and I think Makai Lemon has the better fantasy football outlook, which is what we've been talking about. So I'm going to take him here, but as I've said many times, I would do what the NFL did. If I was drafting a wide receiver that I needed to be my true one, it would be Carnell Tate. But I think Makai Lemon has a better fantasy football skill set and outlook. And there's been so many people make, so many comparisons to like Jalen Hurts can't throw over the middle of the field. He's allergic to the middle of the field. It's like all these things. It's just noisy. That's just noise right now. Like Makai Lemon is a good football player who can play in the slot and on the perimeter. And you look at the depth chart, like, are we really worried about Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks? Like, I'm fading all of that kind of FUD that's out there personally, and I think Makai Lemon will be a very good pro.
I love Makai Lemon, and the Jalen Hurts can't throw to the middle is nonsense. I think that is to say that a quarterback, a Super Bowl winning, MVP running caliber quarterback can't throw to the middle of the field is just lazy.
Things can change. You remember do you remember with Cam Newton?
That's true.
It was like he cannot check down the ball.
He cannot throw to the running back. He will not throw to the running back. Well, you know what he does when he has CMC? He checks down to the running back a whole lot because you've got a player there. Like, if you think if Amon-Ra St. Brown, not that Makai Lemon is Amon-Ra, but if Amon-Ra was traded to the Eagles, we'd be like, no, Jalen Hurts can't find Amon-Ra. Yes, of course he can.
Yeah. Things do not stay static in the NFL, and especially when you have a play caller that might be a mystery to a lot of people, but Sean Mannion was a hot name in the process. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited for the team.
I am skeptical but hopeful.
I'm excited for the team's trajectory. I don't know fantasy if they're going to cannibalize each other.
I would say I'm pessimistic. Like you can be hopeful and pessimistic. And I think that's where I am. I want it to work because I want Sean Mannion.
Kyle every year.
I want Sean Mannion to be a thing. I think it's hard that he will. It's a difficult thing to just come in and be a great OC. He's got the opportunity to. Most first-time OCs don't necessarily just always work, but I love Sean Mannion. He should have been the starting quarterback for the Rams for many years. Joke, but anyways, I'm on the clock. I will obviously take Carnell Tate, who I would have taken it to. We've talked about him enough. He is, my Felix model has him as the number 1 prospect in this draft, ahead of Jordyn Tyson. I like Shuck better than I like Cam Ward. That's really what it comes down to for me. But you could argue, as I did earlier, that the target competition is much less in Tennessee than it is in New Orleans. I just think the pie, the passing volume, the pace of play, all of that is more in New Orleans. That's the tiebreaker for me. Love those 3 guys. Now we're at the pick where you go, okay, let's use our brain.
I had to make this pick in our Dino Junior because I pulled off a great trade to somehow get the 102 and 105. And before the draft, it was KC. Like, I was just like, that's who I'm going to take. The talent evaluation says, I like this player no matter what. Now Jadarian Price is in the conversation to say, if I need running backs, am I willing to take him here? Now, normally speaking, the way that I would build in Dynasty, it's just saying, I'm just going to punt the running back position down the road until Jesus comes back. Like, I just don't care. And I showed Betz my running back room, and he goes, I don't even think that's a running back room. I have 4 running backs on this roster. That's how bad it is. But I was curious, and so the way that I did my homework for it is I checked the Felix model, because, that's a little...
That's everything.
And how it elevated Jadarian Price to at least at a spot saying, man, before he was like the 109, 110 for me. Can I really take him at the 105? And it was really a toss-up between him and Concepcion. The only other player I considered is, do I want one of the tight ends here? And I think it's too early for me. So I took Jadarian Price out of, I think, a first-round running back on a team that I really like. And I think I liked him the most out of the 3 of us. So I actually already had like a soft spot that I felt fine. I don't feel great picking a running back over a wide receiver that I personally love, but my team was desperate, and I also think he's 105, 106 to me.
Yeah,
so, Price.
Price will be there. This was a prospect I did not love. I went back and liked him a little bit more the second time around when, he was obviously getting all the buzz of might be a first-round pick, and I see the physical traits. I hate the reception profile, which basically is meaning nothing. He didn't do any receiving work in college. Doesn't mean he can't in the NFL, but you want to see it. But I mean, Charbs is probably going to start on the pup. You spent a first rounder. You want to run the ball. You're a good offense. You're literally the Super Bowl champion team. Really hard to bypass that. It was very difficult when I was making my rankings, and I did the same thing. I put Jadarian Price at 5. Jardine.
I think it's fair. The Seahawks talked about trying to trade back, and they couldn't, and they knew if they didn't take him at 32, he was not going to get to 64. So they took their guy, and I do worry, like, we're going to, not artificially, but like, I don't know what the right word for this is, but like inflate the first-round draft capital.
For sure. It is going to happen.
Because it's true, but also kind of not true. You know what I mean? But regardless, the opportunity is there. I don't think people realize the Zach Charbonnet situation. Like in best ball leagues, Charbonnet still goes in like the 10th round or something like that, where it's like, he's not just going to start on pup. Like, I truthfully think this year for him will be not irrelevant for fantasy, but hard to be relevant until like late November for fantasy is the way I would put it based off his timeline.
He'll just be there. He'll just be there to crush Jardians in the playoffs.
That's correct. But the opportunity is certainly there, obviously. So I don't mind this pick. I was going to take basically whoever Kyle didn't. So I will take KC Concepcion. I know that the quarterback play this year is a question mark in Baltimore, or in Cleveland and all those things, but just betting on the talent with the first round wide receiver.
I love him. I hope he crushes it. And I love what Cleveland did the last 2 years. So they're building something there, and they're building it the right way. And I love taking 2 shots of the wide receiver position with the early capital. So I think he can morph into more than just being a gadgety slot guy. I think he can eventually start outside for them. So Jason's very happy, it seems.
I am not.
Extremely happy.
I am very unhappy. I am very, very unhappy because a lot of people want to take a tight end there over Concepcion, which I don't blame them. Either one, if you want to take a tight end over Concepcion, do it. I would not. I think Concepcion can end up in a very Zay Flowers role. He's kind of a Zay Flowers comp. He's got that a little bit of the jitterbug, quality wide receiver, not a big, hulking 6'2", 210 type of guy. And you've got Monken, who's going to be able to manufacture touches for him. And so I like Concepcion. Now it comes to the tight ends, and I'm so upset because I've said from the beginning, from day one, I like Stowers more than Sadiq. I want to put Stowers over Sadiq. I think he's a better receiving fantasy football prospect, not necessarily an NFL, tight end if blocking matters. And then you look at the situation. Obviously, Sadiq picked with the 16th pick in the first round versus the 54th pick that falls in the second round. You look at the Jets need targets behind Garrett Wilson. They need someone to throw the ball to, but they also grabbed Omar Cooper Jr. Stowers. You're going to lose A.J. Brown. And so Stowers can come in. Dallas Goedert's going to be on his last leg, and then the future is bright for Stowers. Oh, but you brought in Makai Lemon. There's a lot of similarities here. I can't justify my priors overcoming what the data says, what Felix says, what the draft capital says. So I'll take Sadiq. I would rather, if I could, like if someone was here and, if I'm on the clock and I got to take one of these tight ends and someone really wants Sadiq, I would love to just like flip a pick, grab some extra draft capital and take Stowers. But that's not what's happening here. I'll take Sadiq.
All right, so Jason feels terrible with his tight end pick. I'm going to take Eli Stowers because he is the tight end that earns targets. And I think it is going to be a tough year one for him to carve out something that's super meaningful. And then
I saw a lot of hate on the landing spot, just a ton. Just like with Makai Lemon, you got a quarterback that doesn't throw to the middle of the field. Then you've got Stowers now competing with Makai Lemon on the field, and so people are like, I hate this landing spot.
They just only stand there. That's the only spot on the field.
Yeah, that's all they do is they just wander to the middle of the field where they know Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball, and they stand there. That's what their entire career is going to be. Silliness. However, Betz, you watched the Eagles closer. Hopefully you're not swayed by fandom, but opinion analysis wise, like, is there a spot for Stowers? Is it a bad landing spot? Is it a good landing spot? What do you think from your educated analyst perspective?
Well, I think it's an archetype that, think back like to the Eagles years of old, like there was always kind of like the move tight end and the inline guy. Like years ago, it was like Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz and that sort of thing. I could see that type of situation playing out right away in the first season, but we've talked about this, just him as a prospect. Like he needs time to kind of develop into being an NFL tight end. And so I agree with Kyle's point where it's like in year one, I don't think he's going to command much of the offense personally, but you think about the opportunity that they have, you think about the ancillary pieces behind Lemon and Devonta Smith, there's not really much going on here. So like, I do think it could be a slow first season, but obviously they've got a plan for him and you just kind of bet on the upside case here. So this is a player that I don't think will do a ton this first year, but I do think there's a place where it could work out, in Philly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what your boy, Sean Mannion, does when it comes to 12 personnel and how he fits in, because it seems like, okay, well, it's going to be Wicks on the outside. Okay, now what are you doing with Lemon? Hollywood's just running wind sprints. It'll be interesting to see how they fit everybody in.
The way that they manufactured touches for Dallas Goedert last year was so freaking frustrating to me as just a football fan, because Dallas Goedert does nothing with the ball in his hands. Everything. I feel like they would give him 10 targets, and I don't have the data in front of me. I'm sure it wasn't this bad, but feel like there were games where it was like he had 10 targets and ended with like 40 yards, and he caught 9 of them or something. It was just insane inefficiency. And I am hopeful that, maybe that could be a situation where they manufacture touches for instead of Goedert, get Stowers the ball where he can break tackles, he can run away from guys, he can get in space. which aren't necessarily across the field. They're still going to be more, in the flats. But I also looked back at, it's hard to tell because it's Jalen Hurts' rookie season. That was the only year he played with Zach Ertz. But Zach Ertz did have a pretty bad year that year. So, once he started, his pace was not great. He would have been on pace for 672 yards and 4 touchdowns with a rookie Jalen Hurts. Hard to factor that in. I think you throw that away.
So incredibly inefficient running the ball inside the red zone last year. I mean, Saquon, had 1 touchdown inside the 10. And then, so Goddard ended up being their kind of red zone weapon, which he's not going to be able to repeat that year over year. So, Stowers, you're going to have to play the long game, but a lot of these guys, you don't know what they're going to be. Like, even this guy you're about to pick, Betz.
Yeah, I don't know what Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be, quite frankly. But at the 9th pick, I'll take him. Obviously, they come back into the first round to select him after Sadiq. We've talked about him before. Like, to me, this is not a first-round NFL profile historically of what we've seen. So I'm not necessarily like putting all my eggs in the first-round draft capital bucket here with Omar Cooper Jr., but obviously they've got a plan for him, and there is an opportunity for a wide receiver, too, to step up beside Garrett Wilson. I really don't think Geno Smith, call me crazy, is going to support all 3 of these guys in fantasy this season. But when you just think about their team building perspective, like clearly the Jets are just planning to, hey, let's put weapons on this team. Let's drop a rookie quarterback in here next year and see what happens.
Funny, they do have really good weapons. I mean, you're telling me an offense with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Eli Stowers, Omar Cooper Jr. Like, I didn't like Omar Cooper Jr. that much. I didn't dislike Omar Cooper. It's weird. Like, last year I disliked Matthew Golden. And I kind of comp Omar Cooper to Matthew Golden this year from like a perspective of, I don't think he's as good as the NFL thinks. But I do like him a lot more than Matthew Golden. That being said, it's really tough to be like, okay, well, so who's the target pecking order? It's coming from Geno Smith. It doesn't look great. It's a worse offense than what the Packers were when they inherited Matthew Golden last year. I really don't want to be at this point in the draft. And now is where you literally get to the spot. The rest of the picks are the guys we talked about where I would rather have Josh Downs. And you could make an argument about Omar Cooper Jr. I would probably still take the first-round draft capital of Omar Cooper Jr. over Josh Downs. But who would I be happier with? Probably Josh Downs. Anyways, after this, you got Germie, Denzel, Antonio Williams, Dejon Stribling, Chris Bell, Ted Hurst, Elijah Sarratt. Like, it's all crapshoot. And we're in the first round. So give me Fernando Mendoza. I'm going to take the 101 in the NFL draft. I know he's got a long leash. I think he's really good. I do not believe he will be a fantasy football sensation, because in order to be a fantasy football sensation with his archetype, you have to become Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. Now, he could ironically develop into a Kirk Cousins, his now mentor, who everybody's comped him to forever. And Kirk Cousins was great for fantasy for many years. He didn't win people championships, but he was an important asset every year for a stretch. That's the hope. Mendoza is a quality quarterback. I like him. I'll take him.
Yeah. I like having a quality QB2 on your roster. I think we forget that it can matter, not just for bye weeks, but like over time, you're hoping that this person becomes more than just, oh, he's a QB2. Like, he could have a season where he Justin Herberts and ends up being a top 5 type guy with the right situation. And obviously, the offense is on the ascension. They just need wide receivers. They don't have those. So I'm going to take Denzel
Ravens
Boston.
are signing former Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia to a 3-year deal. Boom. Pavia. Behind the next Lamar Jackson.
But why?
Pavia.
Actually, it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've got a dual threat backup quarterback, Heisman candidate, runner-up, he's a backup. This is Lamar Jackson's team, but Pavia should have been drafted, don't you think? I mean, I don't know. He's tiny. His film's not that great. His production is fantastic.
The Ravens will only ever have one backup, and it's Tyler Huntley. He's allowed. He's the only guy allowed.
That's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley to you, sir.
111. I'm taking Denzel Boston. He would be the next wide receiver. Could he be better than Casey Concepcion in terms of fantasy production? Maybe. But the draft capital's fine. I think we all thought he was going to go in the first round, but 111, it's fine.
Oh, man, I hate this pick.
Yours is the worst spot.
All right. I talked down on this player, I feel like a bunch, but second round wide receiver, I'll take Germie. I don't love it, if I'm being honest, given the quarterback room and or Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman there. But there's kind of some sneaky outs in Pittman's contract if things don't work out. So I think there's an opportunity that down the road this could develop. So I will take Germie at this pick.
Okay.
I feel like
That's
we
gonna
can finish this show in about 45 more seconds if we just rapid round take all these nonsense guys that nobody wants already right at the beginning of the second.
All right, let's take a break, and then we will wrap it around, boys. Just to recap the first round, it went Jeremiah Love, Jordyn Tyson, Makai Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jardians, Jadarian Price at 105, Casey Concepcion, Kenyon Sadiq, Eli Stowers, Omar Cooper Jr., Fernando Mendoza, Denzel Boston, and Germie Bernard at 112. Jason, you're on the clock at the 201.
I'm on the clock at the 201. This is where I try to trade for a veteran in fantasy football. Yeah, every pick, just try to trade for Josh Downs or someone. I mean,
Mark Andrews.
When I look at all of these players, every single one, I would put the vast majority of my chips on they don't become a fantasy star. Not that these guys can't have a game, but the guys that are going to be on waiver wires that you pick up and you play, and they have relevance and they have a career in the NFL. That's how I feel about most of these guys. You took Germie?
I did.
I'm going to take Antonio Williams. Antonio Williams, to me, I know, Betz, you liked him as a prospect. He also currently looks like he's got one of the best opportunities. You got a good quarterback with Jaden Daniels. You really need a number 2 behind Terry McLaurin, and right now, Antonio Williams has the opportunity to slot in. Now, there's a lot of rumors Brandon Ayuk might be coming to town, and then that hurts his pecking order the same way that Germie is the 3 for his team. And we do. I just want to say we do know his name is not Germie. For those that are new
Allegedly.
for those that are new to the show, but you spell it like that, it gets said like that. Okay, consequences, actions. Yeah, I'll take Antonio Williams. Good draft capital, good enough draft capital, good enough talent, and great opportunity for the Washington Commanders on a good offense. You could really make an argument that maybe he should go ahead of Germie simply because of the pecking order. But I am kind of factoring in the Brandon Ayuk drama. I mean, what a soap opera. Did you hear the latest with
crazy.
him? Did you see the latest, which is teams can't get a hold of him? Like right now, teams are trying to get a hold of Brandon Ayuk. They can't get a hold of him. Like, what?
Dude, the vibes cannot be worse.
This guy is a psycho. He signs this monstrous deal. It's all roses, and then just implodes his life. Weird.
I hate thinking that he was like an entire off season for thinking about the show over the years. Like we had the Lev Bell off season. There was an entire off season where Brandon Ayuk was pretty much every single day part of the news.
Yeah,
he took that from me. I want it back. Antonio Williams might have the cleanest landing spot as of any day 2 wide receiver for opportunity. I'm going to take Chris Bell. It feels like I'm swinging for the fences at this pick. Somebody that could have been a first-round NFL draft pick before tearing his ACL. He was the second wide receiver taken by the Dolphins. Caleb Douglas, I guess, took before him, and most of the NFL was like, I did not have this guy on my board, but Chris Bell projects to be the better long-term solution.
All right, I'm going to take Jonah Coleman at the 203. Obviously, things feel crowded right now with Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, and now Coleman, but just kind of betting on the guy that we all liked and seeing what shakes out in an offense that we love for a scheme that historically we love. I think the most likely outcome here for Coleman is it's very frustrating for all 3 guys because they're all going to play. They're all going to have a role. You'll probably see Tyler Bidet on 3rd and 20 type of stuff. But just like
is
if
McLaughlin still there? Just
probably
bring them all in.
Probably bring them all in. But if injuries or something happen in front of him, I think he's got the talent to win.
J.K. Dobbins is there, man.
He's got the talent to capitalize. So I'm going to take him at the 203.
They have Deuce Vaughn on this roster too.
I feel like
no, they do not. Are you serious?
They can't find him though. I feel like J.K. Dobbins has really had the short end of the stick. What a good guy who has worked so hard in so many years with so many massive injuries that are out of his control. I mean, that happens.
And such a good player.
He is. He was really unfair to work back from all those injuries only to get another one. To then, I mean, he's still doing it. He worked back. He got a contract. He's going to play. He's going to get injured again. This is the craziest part of this draft, and I'm actually enjoying this process because I don't know who you guys are going to take. Like, my rankings, I look, and the next 10 guys, I don't care who I would take out of the 10. You know, I've got them in a very specific order for very specific reasons. I would take them. I will take them in that order. But if you take them in a different order, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. For me, I like Jonah Coleman, but I cannot justify taking a day 3, round 4 running back over someone who was borderline a first-round wide receiver. Do I love it? No. But Stribling, couple picks into the second round because the Niners were able to trade back. They said if they couldn't trade back, they would have taken him in the first. Insanity. However, this is a team where it's like, okay, Mike Evans is old. They've got a good, I mean, Kyle Shanahan he gets it done with everybody. Do their day 2 picks work for the 49ers? No. Will they work? Probably not. But could they work? And I mean, you also, Juwan Jennings is gone. There is a need for targets here. George Kittle's health. And the draft capital is there. He also had production. So Stribling, he reminds me of Terry McLaurin in that I remember the Terry McLaurin year. When they drafted him, it was a real shock. It's like, wow, I did not think that this guy was going to go that high in the draft. The team believed in him. And for fantasy football that year, because we all spent time with our big boards and our draft process, and we had our rankings, and we hadn't really, like, I hadn't scouted Terry McLaurin before that draft much. I was like, oh, I got.
He was basically a kick returner.
Yeah, I was like,
at least coming in, that's what you thought.
I was unfamiliar with him, to be completely honest. I'm not a college scout. I do NFL fantasy football, and then after the year, I go and look at who's at the combine and who's projected in big boards, and he wasn't. And so because of that, his ranking in startup drafts was way below where it should have been by what the NFL did. And that's how I feel with Stribling. Nobody was looking at him in dynasty circles at this point in a draft ever. But the NFL did, and that's what matters. So I will take him here.
Dane Brugler, I want to say 2 weeks before, brought up his name as, hey, this is somebody that's could be in the day 2 conversation. Like that was the first time I knew the name from him playing in the SEC, but not, okay, this guy might be a first round pick. And I think it's the best case scenario is you say Kyle Shanahan knows what to do with wide receivers that are thrown away, like Juwan Jennings, like Kendrick Bourne, and get the best out of him. You hope that he is that.
Yeah. He's got the opportunity.
And in this draft, I guess that's what you want to do. I'm going to take a day 3 running back, which is definitely not something I would normally ever do. But in this draft, we're looking at guys that are like the 5th or 6th running back off the board. So I'm going to take Nick Singleton because opportunity-wise, one of the better landing spots long-term. Now, next year, they could easily take somebody on day 2, and it kind of erases it. But Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears aren't going to be on this roster next year. This is a new regime. And I think Singleton, his injury concerns is what dropped him the most. It was a broken right foot, Betz.
Correct.
And so opportunity-wise, it's there. These are the type of picks that are shots in the dark in the second round. And in this year, it feels gross to take a round 5 running back at the 205, but that's what I'm doing.
Can I interest you in a round 6 running back at the 206?
What are you guys doing? All right, let's go.
Who is it?
Look, in this part of the draft, we already talked about it. These guys are not going to be in the NFL in 2 years, right? I mean, that's what Kyle said. League winners come from ambiguous situations. I have no idea how good Bill is. Rachaad White is making 1 year, $2 million on his contract. What if Fat Man is Brian Robinson and falls in the end zone 10 times this year? So I will take Kaytron Allen after Nick Singleton and say that this pick is not very good.
This is the perfect, guys, this is the perfect example
not see that coming.
Of...
I mean, it's not... What are we going to do here?
This is the perfect example of the 2026 draft. The pessimism is completely founded. Folk Clan, if you're listening, please understand, like, most of these players aren't going to work out. You just took a 6th round running back. There are day 2 wide receivers that were drafted highly that you're
do
taking
this for
over.
a living, Betz?
But you can't really, like, I would not that's not how my rankings are, but you can't say it's insane. And we're in the 2nd round here. This feels like the 3rd round in most drafts. I'm going to take a player I really liked, had good production. This was, I think I brought him up as kind of a sleeper in one of our early episodes that I liked. He's only 21 years old, and he's going to a team that's a good offense with a good quarterback, and they just lost a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I'm going to take Ted Hurst, the
that's my bad.
The heir apparent replacement for Mike Evans. He is not Mike Evans. He cannot replace Mike Evans. It is a crowded field there with Ibuka already in tow and Godwin there. Couple other young guys, McMillan. I mean, they've got a loaded core, but I like Ted Hurst. I think he's a good player. The fact that the Buccaneers agree with that and have an opportunity for him, I will draft him.
Full disclosure, completely forgot about Ted Hurst, so
okay.
I would have taken him at the 206.
FantasyFootballers.com. Look at my rankings; they're great.
Ted Hurst at 207. Betz took a 6th round running back. I'm going to take a 5th round running back here just to keep it going. I liked Emmett Johnson before. The landing spot behind Kenneth Walker is not ideal, but I actually think the competition for RB2 for KC is non-existent, the rest of the roster. So he's probably just a change of pace back, but Kenneth Walker is also not very good at staying on the field. So Emmett Johnson at 208 is where I will go.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna throw a curveball here. I'm gonna take Elijah Sarratt.
That's who I was gonna take.
He technically the Ravens had Jacoby Lane higher on their board based off draft capital, but I mean there's more production with Sarratt, so I'll take him. They talked a little bit after the draft about maybe kind of moving him into this big slot role.
Yes,
we'll see.
That's exactly where I want him.
I think he could be really good in that role. So I will take him here at the 209.
Yeah, I think that's a really good pick. That would have been my pick, and that's surprising because that was one of my movements, like putting him above Jacoby Lane. Jacoby Lane was drafted 80th, and Elijah Sarratt was drafted 115th, same team. But I like Elijah Sarratt better. I loved. I mean, this always sounds stupid. I hate when I say things like this, and this will be on the record forever. It will turn out to be wrong. Obviously, the NFL thought it was wrong. I liked Sarratt better than Omar Cooper Jr. When I watched him, like, that's the player that I would have wanted. I thought he was a better, just well-rounded wide receiver, good route runner. I saw separation. Other people said they didn't. Whatever. I liked him a lot. I think that's a good pick. I am on the clock now. I'm going to take a player who was rumored at times to be maybe a first-round pick. And then it was like, nah, you're not going to be a first-round pick. He was not a first-round pick. But he got a good landing spot. He's an archetype I don't like in fantasy because it usually doesn't work. But when it works, you're talking double-digit touchdowns. Give me Malachi Fields, wide receiver for the Giants now. You got, not a lot of competition there for targets after Malik Neighbors. They need someone else. Malachi Fields, big-bodied, touchdown threat type of guy. He was someone that I was very much betting against going into the draft because he was like I don't know what his breakout age was, but when he really dominated was like his 5th year in college. Like this last year, he was just like dominating little boys, and he was this giant guy. My notes were giant man with a late breakout, basically catching sideline balls over little kids. A lot of George Pickens. I can see that with some of his incredible catches, but call me skeptical. His tricks will work in the NFL. That's how I feel about him. But at this point in the draft, you're talking about someone who should have the opportunity to be the number 2 for Jackson Dart. And if it works, it's good for fantasy. The type of player, you're not a possession guy, but you're a touchdown guy.
Mike, just for context, in our rookie draft, Mike took him at the 202. So there's this range right here where Jason just took Malachi Fields at the 210. And Mike's like, hey, I would be willing to take him anywhere in between here. So that's kind of what you're dealing with in some of these players. I know it's Betz' favorite player in this draft, Malachi Fields.
He's going to be a future All-Pro.
Were you anti Fields?
I mean, I'm pretty much anti all these guys, if I'm being honest.
He's going to do a
But
really
yeah,
good job being a diet version of Darius Slayton.
Yeah. I think he's actually like a nice compliment to what Neighbors is, which is everything.
Yes.
And he can be the sacrificial X, which is what I think he'll be.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys. It'll be interesting. I thought about Chris Brazell here, who hopefully is not just that player for the Panthers. But since all of these guys are in the same tier, let's just have some fun. Let's just take a player, exciting, lightning quick, could do anything. A great pick of the third round for the Atlanta Falcons, Zachariah.
Your guy, your Falcon. The
Love
next
him now. Best player.
The next Tyreek Hill, right?
Hey, he's at least something fun.
Some are saying.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a pick here. When you're looking at most of these guys, you are looking at people who probably won't work out. But when it works out, you say, okay, what does it look like? What is the path for some of these guys? And what you're saying is if it works out, they are maybe a flex option. Like that is the I hit this pick. That means, hey,
Yes.
I'm going to look, they're going to be on my team, and I'm going to be looking at the matchup and say, I'm going to play this guy this week. I'll bench him next week. And that is the hit. Zachariah Branch is a guy that we're going to bet against. He was a screen warrior. He just manufactured so much of his, touches and production in college from the screen game. And those are usually hollow. Those don't work out. But if it works, if Zachariah Branch hits the NFL and does there what he did in college, you are talking about a fantasy star, like someone that really, like his speed is, you only want to whisper Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill is one of one. But as far as the engine starting so quick, that like immediate burst, it's not the top speed, the 40 time or whatever. It's just the like start and stop is crazy fast with Branch. I like this tape, but I don't mind at this point. Swing for the fences, swing for home runs.
I'm with you. Like, this is the type I always bet against, and I'm throwing aside the homerism. This is a new regime. The only other wide receivers on the roster, Dotson and Zacchaeus, won't be on the roster next year. So if this regime is making a pick, could he end up being the number 2 behind Drake London and morph into a Wan'Dale Robinson type flex play? Cool. I'm down with that.
I get it. I'm totally into it. Let's close this out with a completely unknown what are they doing, but trust the team. I'll take Max Klare. They have like 19 tight ends on that roster. So this is obviously a pick that you're not making and getting much, if any, contribution this year, most likely. But just kind of forward thinking, they've got a plan for this guy. I liked him going back to his Purdue tape, but the 212, what could go wrong? He was a second round pick.
McVay likes his tight ends. He knows his tight ends well. So you
Betz
trust that.
Betz is a sucker for Max Klare. He's talked about Max Klare the whole process. He loved him last year. He's going to be good. He went to a team that is just going to eat itself at the tight end position.
You wait, Jason. When he walks away from the season with 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're going to come calling back. Like, Betz, you're right.
He could walk away with 406 touchdowns, and you'll never be able to play him because you have no idea.
I'm not drafting him for this year.
Yeah.
This is Dynasty. I'm drafting him for future.
2026. I'm drafting this guy for 3 years down the road.
That's right. That's how I play this game.
So would you rather have him or Terrence Ferguson in a startup?
I like Terrence Ferguson better.
Yeah, exactly. So you're drafting a backup tight end for the future. Got it.
Betz is trading
I told
this
you,
pick.
when we get to the 112, all of these guys are out of the NFL in 2 years.
It's crazy. So we just finished our Ballers Dynasty mock draft that will be on the website for everyone to see on our writing staff, and we did that in addition to this podcast. We went 3 rounds there if you want to check that out a little deeper. One of the guys that dropped to me, I think it was like the 307 or 308, and I just couldn't believe it. And the same thing is happening here is Kalen Black, a day 2 running back. It's like, I know we didn't like him, and he wasn't at the combine. He runs funny. He's obviously behind Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, he's a day 2 running back for a good offense with a fragile older veteran in front of him. It feels like, we're taking 6th rounders, 5th rounders, 4th rounders ahead of him. Is it the right thing to do because we just know it's not going to work out, or?
It's weird because we have this new bias about Shanahan where it's like he's really good, and yet John Lynch and him have these weird draft board conversations.
Can you imagine how good the 49ers would have been these last 5 years. And they've already been one of the best teams in the NFC.
I've said it.
If they actually use their draft capital on
said
anybody
it so many
that
times.
contributes.
If you got Shanahan a good GM, he'd be winning Super Bowls.
If Kalen Black went to like the Jaguars on day 2, would we be like, oh my gosh, that changes things because that's a landing spot? We're like, or the Vikings. Let's say he went to the Vikings, the team that we thought we were going to draft a running back, and he went in the 3rd round. Where would he go in rookie drafts?
He would go. I think he would go higher. The fact that he's behind Christian McCaffrey and the fact that we've seen this day 2 running back pick for the San Francisco 49ers not work out over and over and over and over and over. All of them. It happens all the time. But at the same time, we saw the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver drafted. It doesn't work out, whether it's Xavier Worthy or it's Sky Moore or they took all these guys and then it was like, oh, but Rashee Rice did. So just because some don't doesn't mean none can. And I'm going to follow the draft capital there, the situation, and especially when you're in such a crap shot area where you're just spreading out darts and throwing them. There's enough to throw there. I do remember, and it was so crazy. Mike and I were in the throngs. We had just finished scouting all of our running backs. Like we went, 20 deep or whatever. We scouted everybody that was at the combine. I've got my Felix models. I have guys being scored by my Felix model that I haven't watched. Deep names that I don't know. And then we start looking at Kyle's spreadsheet of top 30 visits. And we're looking at all the names and where they're going. Okay, Jonah Coleman's here. And we keep seeing this black. Every team bringing in this guy named Black at running back for a top 30 visit. And Mike and I are like, who the heck is that guy? Who is Black? I didn't even know who it was. It wasn't in my list. It wasn't in my gigantic list.
He wasn't even the most known running back from his own college team in this draft.
I mean, it was unbelievable. But I will say this. I bring that up to say that it is not just the 49ers. He was brought out for a top 30 visit by so many teams that there's got to be something there. Even though he runs like he's got poop in his pants, man. I mean, I don't understand. He's wearing a diaper or something. He is disgusting running style. That being said, a lot of teams brought him out for top 30 visits. He went on day 2. He's got a fragile veteran in front of him. I think he's being undervalued in drafts because he might go through 3 rounds undrafted while these really, I mean, keep in mind before the NFL draft pushed all these running backs to day 3, we didn't really like them. We did not think these were great prospects. The Mike Washingtons and, we were like, they're not that great. So I don't know. Day 2. I'll go NFL draft capital.
Yeah. Make sure you check out that mock draft. Like Jason said, a lot of round 3 guys in Jason's rankings, Andy's rankings, Mike's rankings that you can look through and sort. And it's okay to say, hey, I don't have this figured out because I don't think the NFL totally knows what to do with some of these guys. We will be back next week. Make sure you go to udkplus.com and check out those rankings. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.